Go.
Okay, there's different types of diversity in the environment. Can anybody name any types that they know?
Biological.
Okay.
Where's
But
that?
that's already up there. Biological.
Okay.
Okay. Any other guesses? Like psychometric? All right. Genetic would go in what color?
Yellow.
Guys,
Right.
try to follow along. She says genetic will go with what? So she's asking you.
Always say yellow. Because genetic diversity, like in friends, you know, they have brown hair, brown eyes, some have blue, some have blonde hair. The different genes, you know, they're different for each person, so you get different results.
Species.
And species would go with what color? Right. There's a whole bunch of different types of species. As you can see in the picture, there's different types of birds. So, and then blue would be
Ecological.
right, because there are different types of habitats and biomes and everything. And then the last one, cycling of matter and energy. Think of like what the world does, like
Functional.
right. Its function would be, you know, doing all of these cycles and all these different things.
Who remember that? Functional diversity, that's good. Okay, best show of all time right here.
Okay, and a group of living beings interacting with each other and the abiotic environment would be what? Right, ecosystem. It's different animals and their habitat interacting and living together. Okay, and then the bottom one, on the bottom right, is the part of the fundamental that is actually used. Like the animal that takes place, like his own specific place in the ecosystem would be what?
A neat fish.
Right. And it's what type of, there's two different types. Which one would be? On the left it's going to be fundamental, and on the right it's going to be realized niche.
Can you describe them?
Okay, realized niche is actually what it does completely. Like the squirrel, you know, in the tree, it takes up that one actual part. But the fundamental is not really what it is. It's the potential if there was no competition or if there was nothing involved with it. Okay, the species in the ecosystem, we know about the different types and how they've evolved and how far they've come through fossil records. So as you can see, you know, different scientists make different records and charts of how far everything has come. And then what is an organism that can reproduce? Pretty much. This is like easy, think of it. Species, right. And then they range, you know, from 4 million years ago to 100 million years ago. Okay, and species diversity, you know, the variety and abundance of different species. So there's two types of species. They're broken up into two categories. One has a broad niche, they live anywhere. You know, raccoons, they pretty much eat everything. Right, would be generalists. And then the other one would be the koala, because he only has that one habitat and one food source. Would be a specialist, because he, you know, has special needs that he's taking care of. And then role species play in their ecosystem, once again, is their niche.
And you have to know, unfortunately, specific organisms and specific examples.
Okay, so Keystone, species, and predator. As you can see, the top fish in the middle of like the arch, that's the, you know, keystone piece, so that's what it represents because it's holding together everything else. And these animals have a large effect on the ecological community, and what else do they affect, like within the ecosystem? They affect other organisms. They also affect, like, when they're hunting and killing other organisms for food. Predation, so, you know, they're killing other organisms. If they don't, then they overpopulate. And also the last one, their habitat. Because if they let things get out of control or anything, that's also affected.
Yes.
Is predation mainly for food? Like I know that there's those symbiotic relationships where only like a parasite or one person has harm. I'm sorry, environmentalism, where no one's benefits, but there's.
Okay, also foundation species, they shape different habitats, you know, for other organisms and species. Also the coral reef there and otters, they also, you know, make different habitats. And indicator species, what do they, you know, kind of indicate to other organisms? Right, like bad things in the environment. So they provide early warnings of damage to the ecosystem. That would be, birds and frogs. Those are different examples.
Yeah.
Okay, so native species, they live and thrive in a specific ecosystem, but also with native, there's non-native. And what are non-native species also called?
Invasive.
Right, they're also called alien, invaders, and exotic. So the kudzu vine would be one example.
Wait,
Okay.
can you tell me a little bit about invasive species? Or do we talk about that later?
No, I can talk about it now.
Okay.
So invasive species, they're either brought in through human actions or they can be brought in by accident to a specific ecosystem where they're not typically supposed to be there. So if they bring in a new predator, they can either, eat too much of a certain kind of prey and then they can either even become extinct, or they can have no predator after them, so they just overpopulate and take up resources that the native species would use.
Great.
Okay, and population, it's just a group of species living together in a given area. And what may happen when a population needs are not met? Right, so the first one would be death. They also compete and migrate, and they can adapt or evolve to fit specific needs. Okay, different types of relationships in the ecosystem. There's what animal, what distinction makes them that they hunt? Like they're what type of animal?
Predator.
Right, it'd be a predator. And then the organism which the predator feeds on would be the right. So this is called predation. The organisms actively hunt another. And here there was a cute riddle that, just in case you can't tell the difference between what's what. It says eyes in the front likes to hunt, eyes on the side likes to hide. Okay, so symbiosis is how many different organisms living close together? Like what amount? Two, right. It's two different organisms living closely together.
Or more.
Or more.
When two species evolve to live closely together, they develop a symbiotic relationship, but it could be more than two. And it's a rare thing, but it can happen.
Okay, so the first type in which both organisms benefit would be mutualism. The most popular example would be the bees pollinating flowers or different insects pollinating. Also, the specific bird with the zebra, how he eats the animal or the little bugs off the zebra. And then the bird gets protection, so they both.
Dropping 10 percentage points, 10 percentage points, then you'll know why. And
Okay, the next type, when one benefits and the other one does nothing, would be it'd be commensalism. Just like the shark and remora, here they call it the suckerfish. Okay, and then when one benefits and the other one is harmed, right? Just like the mosquito or on the caterpillars, there's a certain type of parasite. Yeah, it's a specific parasite that goes into one of the eggs and it causes discoloration. And then the difference between predation and parasitism is that they have to live together, in a symbiotic relationship. With predation, they don't necessarily have to live right by each other. The caterpillar has a certain parasite that grows on him, and it's a big problem actually with caterpillars because they have a lot, as you can see, and it's harmful to them.
go.
Okay, when one organism gets nothing and the other one is harmed, would be what? Commensalism. This one doesn't, it's kind of hard to tell because you can't see if one actually does get something. Like the black walnut would be the most popular example. Okay, and then the next one, when neither benefit or neither are harmed. Mutualism, right. Just like the raven and the crow, they're just, friends and hang out together. Okay. And then there's two different types of competition. So the top one's competition. And there's interspecific, when there are different types of animals, so the lion and the hyena. And then intraspecific is the same type. And this occurs when populations or communities seek limited resources. And for example, these limited resources could be prey, water, light, minerals, or the habitat in general. And then there's a video of the different types kind of blended together, but it's kind of long for some of it.